What was the last movie we saw?
I literally thought you were gonna
guys?
say. I knew that was a good segue.
What was the last movie we saw?
The killing of a sacred beer.
No, I don't think that was it.
What?
Yeah, it was.
They drank a lot of beer.
I kept on pushing IPAs. I'm just like, what? But I felt like they were just leaving out ales. Like,
I really-
what ales and meads?
It was unfair, honestly.
It was unfair. It was very biased against that. It was more centered for an IP audience, and I felt very let down.
You know,
me too.
But to be fair, Alamo kept on just handing out beers.
Yeah.
But they did still charge us.
And they would
that
come
was
up to us and laugh about it and say, "Oh," and then they'd go off, and it was very disturbing because there was a lot of them in the theater at the time.
Killing of the Sacred Deer is the second film that that director
Yorgos Lanthimos, and I really apologize if I butchered that.
did with the A24 production partnership with
Yes.
them, following his success in The Lobster.
Yes.
Was critically acclaimed. I don't know about audience-wise. People
It
probably
wasn't-
didn't get it.
They did not like it.
Instead of trying to find a more focal audience, he pushed the boundaries even more into horror, blending the black comedy and horror into one.
Yeah.
Literally, the first act was like The Lobster. Like,
Yes.
the pacing was weird, like the hunting strings, and then like there's a definitive point in where it like breaks out the rest of the plot.
Yeah.
When in the diner scene where it actually tells them like, the actor Barry Keoghan plays the character Martin.
Yes.
I thought that was all you were gonna say.
Okay,
Barry.
talking about the first act, I totally thought that it would like Colin Farrell was having an affair with a boy. No joke.
Yeah,
I
no,
knew.
same. I thought it was very sexual at the beginning.
I thought
was
it
like, oh,
was.
he's a
It was
pedophile.
supposed to
But
be.
then he comes to the house, and it's like, oh, so it's not
I
a
was
secret.
okay, and then I was like confused, and then I was like, oh, I forgot. I read the synopsis about this
Yeah.
movie.
All right. I'm gonna present, not to continue, but I want to present y'all with a very heavy question.
But it was just like,
Right up front.
especially with like the gifts and like everything, and like it just how like I felt very I felt like he made it. I feel like the direct like he had like written something like that and like made it seem like that just because obviously is all by base of like uncomfortable humor and
Yes.
uncomfortable horror and visuals. So I felt like that was like setting the tone of uncomfortable, and I loved it.
I would.
loved it.
All right, ask your question, and I have a question after you.
Okay, I would
Mary.
also like to. I looked it up out of curiosity, so I was surprised because though I do not hardly ever agree with the IMDb form of rating, I believe that, and you can correct me if you're wrong because you're all on the page, but The Killing of a Sacred Deer got like a 7.9 out of 10 stars, and Lobster, I thought it was lower, and it was at a point. It's gone up now. It's 7.1, so it does actually have lower ratings to answer, your assumption about whether it was received by audiences.
I feel like it's because it was because The Lobster kind of became a cult following.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
everyone kind of like I remember some people really wanted it to just be nominated for something just because it was just
Writing for sure.
because like in this day and age of film, there's a lot of reboots, a lot of remakes.
Yeah, it was so original.
So that like because like even like good like kind of big movies that like in the audience like Mother still has like stuff taken from other movies, while something that literally is something on its own.
Yeah. Because I definitely, when I told people I liked The Lobster, but I was like, I'm not going to recommend it to you because I don't.
Oh,
you
no.
can just decide if you want to see
Yeah.
it, but I'm not going to tell
There's
you.
some movies that are
It's
like
very
that, where it's just
divided.
like, I could recommend it to you, you're going to be
Yeah.
mad at me because
Oh,
it's
I've
not
had
a very
people mad at me
recommendable
about it.
I was
movie.
like, they'll like it, and then once the dog scene happened, then they'll just
Yeah.
like we'll shut off for the rest. And there's
That's
also
fair.
and also the Lobster did change tone on the second half.
Right, which
Yeah.
is interesting.
Gotta-
A lot of people
which-
couldn't feel the connect.
This movie
Some people
kinda
didn't
did
like the
too.
second half. I kind of liked
I
the
liked
second
it.
half because I like the consistent, and also like he just pushed more the boundary of the humor with like the disco
Yes.
dancing. The
Yeah.
silent disco. I love that.
Yeah.
That shit
Yes.
was hilarious.
And I also appreciated that the first half of the film is kind of tearing apart like relationships and how like having dependability, and then also tearing apart like the second half is kind of getting into those people that are like, oh, you shouldn't be in a relationship and you should just be single. Instead of just having a film that is one-sided, it showed the ridiculousness of either side. But okay, so my question is, there's a line where Martin, towards the beginning, he's eating ice cream and he's talking to Steven, who is Colin Farrell's character, and he says, I take care of my mother as much as I can as she takes care of me.
Mhm.
And there was something very loaded in that line, especially how much he is obsessed with Steven, like physically and emotionally and mentally.
It's like a sexually frustrated Norman Bates kind of deal.
Yeah, and there's even
that's a good point.
yeah.
That's a
As
really
soon-
good point.
No, as
That's
soon as
really
he said
good.
that line, I literally was like, "Oh my god, he's Norman. This is Norman Bates."
Yeah.
And
It's the same, and then that will make more sense with the ending thing. You can literally insert "He'll never hurt a fly" with him just staring at them leaving the diner. That's you can literally insert.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah, and also then there's that part. Jumping way ahead, but there's a part later on in the story where Steven has finally gotten to a point where he goes to Martin's house and he bangs on the door and he's like, I'll
do it. Go for it. Do it.
It's such
I'll fuck you and your mother, just like the way you wanted to. Yeah.
And so there was a lot of themes throughout the
that was
movie.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I will
like
say.
it was like so intense, and the music was like the strings had the crashing chord, and he was like, "I'll fuck you and your mother." But and also I love that like Colin Farrell actually just gets to keep his Irish accent.
Yeah, thank God for
I love
once.
that.
I was like, man, you do you. Let go.
It's like he like
Let
he
go.
goes, I feel like it's more comfortable. Like one of the best like movies that people like him in is when he gets to do his in Bruges, Seven Psychopaths. He gets gets to keep his Irish accent.
Yeah, well, I'd imagine so, because it's like, imagine like having to pretend to be someone else. It's like you get to act more purely, probably.
And for this movie?
Yeah, I think they actually filmed it.
I don't know.
Nice.
Interesting.
I will say this is probably one of the funniest movies I've ever seen, like in all of 2017. But okay, so my question is, how does everyone round table feel about the movie?
Oh,
like,
We
I
wanna-
loved it.
Loved
I
it?
loved it.
Really?
Yeah.
I am so close to loving it, but there is one thing that it just depends on how I feel about.
The one little side
I loved
on his
his
cheek that like everything was like perfect, and then
I
like
loved
the one
that.
little
Yeah,
patch.
that's a
Don't
solid
even-
4 points down, honestly. Honest to God, that's 6 out
know
of 10
what?
down.
I
It's like
love
when those
it.
Yelp reviews is like good service, good thing, but they didn't fill my water all the time. 1 star.
Oh yeah.
I literally read that because sometimes like I look at the places like I like or
Yes.
like where I work at, and the next thing you know it's like all these good things, but this one little small thing.
Yeah.
But
0
that
out of
place.
10.
But that place.
No,
But
yeah.
You're almost
so
loving it.
I haven't just. I'm gonna say I'm undecided. There was a lot of things I really liked about it, and it's a movie you have to process, and so
Yeah.
I don't have a defined opinion yet.
I will say,
It gets better after you talk about it.
I had a good time,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes not for the right reasons, I feel.
Yeah.
Because there's like, I'll say this, I like The Lobster a lot more than I like this
Yeah.
one. Just
I
from,
do like
I
The
agree,
Lobster.
I agree
Yeah.
with that.
Just
I agree.
from a story perspective, Mary and I were like talking a little bit about this last night, but I was frustrated with the movie in a sense where it's like, there's a point where it gets to like, it feels like it's using its metaphors over its story a little bit, whereas like I was interested in the story, but they kind of like take breaks. It's like, oh, metaphors. Where the
I
lobster,
literally-
it's like it follows through, and the metaphors are along with it, like a sub thing.
No joke.
But like the story was kind of like for me
Yeah.
this time around.
I get
Speaking
you.
of, like when you say like metaphors, when I was watching it, I
Mhm.
knew there was metaphors there, but some reason I just chose not to acknowledge them. And I just
Yeah.
watched it as just a story,
Right.
and I know there's metaphors there. I know they made obviously like point blankly referencing metaphors, and I'm just more just like I just liked watching it and just more just like disturbed about like the dreadness of it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were definitely parts that I felt had a Cape Fear-esque
Yeah,
For sure.
theme
But with,
to
like,
it, and
powers.
was
Yeah.
Yeah.
but with this element of
Mhm.
so this boy has these special powers, and that was such an interesting element. And then you also got the weird element of the humor
Yeah.
in it too, which was
I
really
will make
cool.
you eat all of your hair. I will cut your hair off, and I will make you eat it. Literally all of it. Like this, and also I guess that was another point I had with it, was like I felt like in The Lobster it made sense for them to talk like that, but in this one it kind of was like a little jarring for me. I was like, all right, is it because of the mundaneness of suburbia?
That
Is
was
that
one.
why everyone's talking like
Yeah,
this?
that
Can
was
we
one
have
point.
emotion? So because like towards the end, this is a spoiler. Like we're not. No holds barred, spoiling the movie for sure. Like at the end of the movie where the kid gets shot, like I was telling Mary in the theater, it's like he's gonna spin around in a circle and shoot it. Like literally, like
Shoot
seconds
it.
before it had.
Wow, it.
Stop it.
Wow.
Just, are you referencing that monologue that he says in the movie?
I'm referencing the fact that you called their child an it.
Whatever.
Shooting the gun.
Yeah.
It, the gun,
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, the action of
or the boy.
He shoots the bugger. All right, he shoots the little monster. Is that what you want from me?
Or Mary, let's not forget, like we don't know what the boy wants. we don't only know what the family wants.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't
Exactly.
asked.
He liked long hair.
He liked it.
He liked it. He didn't want to eat it.
He didn't want to eat all of his
He wanted to wear
And
it.
he sure as hell didn't want to play that secret game with his dad.
Oh my god! I'll
That
get to
was
my
the
point, but I
funniest
thought
scene.
the
That was the
fucking
funniest scene.
the look on that kid's face was just like, "Whoa, you fucking win, dude! All right, I didn't want to play
I
to
want to
begin
know.
with."
I want to know that kid's parents and been like, "What are we taking?" And it was like, "We're broke. This is our.
Someone came in and
What
was
are we
like,
doing? Okay,
"You
you're
can't film
never-
this the same day
You're
with this
going
kid."
back to Disney. You're going back to the Disney set. No more films for you."
But yeah, I felt like I didn't feel what I feel like I should have felt towards the end of the movie when the kid gets shot. Where I was like, oh wow, like a robot got killed in a sense. Where it's like they weren't showing emotions up until like the third act or whatever. Like there's spurts of it every once in a
Yeah.
while, but like it didn't happen enough for me to be like, oh, these people. I
Yeah.
care about these people. I invested in these people.
So, not to put the spotlight on Mandy, but I'm about to, just because I'm very
Blast zone.
Yeah, I'm just very interested because
Mandy in
you're
the blast zone.
you're the only one out of the three of us that hasn't seen The Lobster. So going into this movie, having no idea what you're really about to see, how did you? I want to hear your interpretation of the movie. Basically, I want to go in a circle and hear each other's interpretation. And you don't have to start. You can think about it. But I feel like we've been kind of overpowering. Is all I want.
No, you're good. You're good. I had no idea what to expect. I saw the trailer once and
Yeah.
forgot half of it until like the chick started singing the what was it, Ellie
Oh,
Goulding song?
yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, oh yeah, that was the trailer.
Yeah.
Okay.
We let it up.
Hearing your rendition of that is like, wow, there's a lot of ups in this song.
Exactly. But no, when I was watching the movie, I just kind of kept being like taken aback by the awkwardness of all the conversations.
Yes,
And I was
the
just
watch conversation at the
yes.
beginning.
Oh, yeah.
I just kept having to be like, okay, this is not normal. This is not normal. Okay, I had to keep trying to shift like my mind and focus it around what's normal in this movie.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think I need to see it again.
I agree.
Yeah.
All of his movies are double.
yeah, I need to.
It's
I
like
need to
pure
watch
art
it
house,
again.
like layers on layers kind of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was just a lot to take in. I want to watch it again and be.
Okay.
I kind of want to sit down in my living room with a notepad and be like,
Yes.
okay.
Just look at us like, so what happened?
Exactly.
What
So-
happened here?
Yeah, and not be as like the second time I'm not going to be as like shocked in my mind about like how all the interactions are happening.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
I still loved it. It was just different.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, most definitely.
Gavin?
Cabin.
Well, like,
Gavin?
Interrogation.
Where are they? He's licking his lips a lot, if you guys can't see.
Just start singing the song. And that was Cabin.
It was me! I did it! The body's buried at the church garden. I was like, Rachel was just asking if we just took the Dorito chips from the counter. This night, we're not even interrogating you. You're literally at the self-checkout. I just saw this camera pointing at me. I felt attacked.
I'm not
Kevin
gonna
doesn't
lie
like
to y'all.
questions.
If I murdered someone, which I haven't,
I love that you had to clarify. Thank you.
I never...
Says someone that would murder someone would
I feel
say.
like a bit was like, I haven't murdered one yet.
yeah, no, but I feel there's a lot of things that have stopped me from doing it. For like a conscience, but I feel like my
The law.
conscience, in the law, there's a lot of things. But I feel like I would do that if I did a really horrible crime. I would admit to it so fast, like so fast. Someone would be
Yeah.
like, "Hey, Mary, how are you? I'm sorry. I'm really
sorry, I didn't do
Like,
it."
Put the handcuffs on.
Put me in the jail, I swear to God, dude, I
Yeah.
can't take it.
No,
It's
that's-
like someone
that
who
would be
doesn't
me.
like
To be honest,
surprise
I feel like I
birthdays.
could do a pretty good job of hiding it. I feel like I would.
Good to know.
I would go. I feel like I
I'll
would be
cut
like
this part out of the
Dexter, where I just
podcast.
Mandy
do.
agrees.
I feel like I would do it very precise, and I'm really good at lying. It's very bad. Very bad.
You just choose to be an honest person, or
I
are you lying to me
choose to
constantly?
be honest.
Oh.
Let's
Constantly
be
lying.
honest. I've been lying about myself and about how I feel for
Your
most of
name
the time.
isn't even
So I
Calvin.
feel like I could.
We're not even actually together. We're just.
No.
Oh my
no.
God! Do y'all
Actually-
have cats, or are they actors?
They're turtles.
They reveal the cats go up, the turtles take off their masks and start smoking outside. Another day on the job.
Okay, so
Sorry.
for me, no joke, I just watched it just as a revenge flick.
Yeah.
A revenge flick with also an overtone of more of I guess more like a Celtic way of like an eye for an eye type of thing.
Okay.
But like, because obviously there's some mythical force happening where
Right.
he's able to do it and
Right.
knows everything,
Yeah.
and also needs like a sacrifice, but also the revenge of the Flick of also another of the sins of the father.
Right.
That was a lot of things of
that's-
him
yeah.
and him, and about like all
Yeah.
the stuff he's done,
Right.
like where he tries to, even though he did something wrong, and obviously he's trying to recover his
Yeah.
finding out he does stop drinking,
Yeah.
but he's also a compulsive liar. Like
Right.
he would lie off the bat,
Yeah.
and so it's more like it's like the atonement of his sins,
Mhm.
and like if anything, the purest at heart
Yeah.
died. That's another thing that I saw.
Yeah.
There. Like again, like it's very point blank of the killing the sacred deer,
Right.
Yeah.
and it makes more sense of him being pigs. It was like it was.
Most
Right.
If
yeah.
anything, it had to be him because he's
I
literally
mean,
the
he's
purest
the
of heart.
title of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he's
Mhm.
literally the purest of them all. Like, the kid that just like, just a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He like that plays a lot into my. Do you have any more? I don't want to like.
No, I literally like I didn't watch it that much as a metaphorical heavy. Probably because when I watched it, I wasn't really looking for it. Usually, a movie that has metaphor, I like looking in them. Like Mother was like that. It was like it was metaphorical heavy.
Right.
Now it's just like eating it all
Yeah.
up, absorbing it, and
Taking
Yeah.
the fruits off the trees.
taking the fruits.
with
Like
it.
I want all these metaphors to
Ooh,
absorb.
metaphor.
I am a metaphor.
You just become a
It's like
big.
glowing.
You're like a
Oh,
Veronica
metaphor.
Salt like metaphor
But
rolling down the hill.
I just more just watched it as a straightforward revenge flick, which I liked because it made like I felt like it more impactful of everything in the imagery, and also
Yeah,
the
that really helps.
imagery.
Yeah, very beautiful. movie.
I was watching it. It was like I wanted more stuff, like because usually imagery is like what I love, like have more metaphors and like imagery, just haunting, but just more just like it was normal, but the who's also the same cinematographer who did Lobster, and his other films the same director has, but he obviously like just like the changing of having an overview. That's another way I could interpret it. Like it was like a godlike thing, or like a Celtic like gods type of thing. That like overview, just watching something.
Yeah.
Like this,
And not
this
being able to
person
do anything.
who's like getting punished, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
the shots were like, I love that. I love the just like
Overhead.
overview thing. And I was like
when
that.
the sun, like on the escalator.
It's got like an L, like the glasses
Yeah.
like
Oh,
making like
the-
an L around it.
It was like
Yeah.
I'm excited for what that cinematographer's gonna do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
me too.
I'm
He's
excited for
literally
everyone
only
in this.
done
Yeah.
films. I just looked up like majority of his
Yeah.
films have been indie, or the biggest films have been The Lobster and Killing a Sacred Deer.
Yeah.
So I want him to
Spaghetti.
do more stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like,
Yeah, I feel like with the Celtic like
yeah.
magic of it, I kind of liked that scene when Nicole Kidman finally like is just like lost it
Yeah.
with Steven, and he just starts running around the kitchen just throwing things, and he's like, "Oh yeah, do you have some pubes? Like, do you have?"
It's like it was that
do you have
90s
a magic thing?
It's like that 90s PSA. It was like, this is your braid on drugs.
Yeah.
This is your braid on everything you love and your family.
Yeah, and he's just like, yeah, that situation is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You're right.
What do you want to do about this?
Yeah.
But yeah, what you said about the boy being like the sacred deer, like the most innocent,
Yeah.
I definitely agree with that, because if we were talking about this earlier, is like if you notice, like everyone smokes in the family, like except for like him, and the way I kind of perceived it, I didn't, I guess, like get the story as much as you guys might have. So it's like I was kind of at a loss, like looking more into it, just because like, well, if I paid money for this, I'm gonna enjoy this on some level. I'm gonna figure this out. And the way that I kind of saw it, I saw the what's it, Martin?
Yeah.
Martin's his name, the boy,
Uh-huh.
as like kind of like a metaphor for like cancer or like a disease, and like the family is like a pack of like deer, and like he gets to. Because he has that monologue in the beginning about, like, his dad dying. Where he's like, yeah, it's came out of nowhere. He was, like, incredibly healthy. Like, he did everything he could to, you know, keep healthy. And then he died. Like, how is that fair? Which is kind of like cancer. It's like, you can do all the stuff in the world, and it doesn't matter. It's like, oh, you got cancer. Doesn't matter. But, yeah, I thought that was interesting because he was the only one that didn't smoke. And then also, at the end, where he's, like, they're all, like... He's obviously not there, like, they're, like, missing a part of their family.
At the diner?
Yeah, the diner, yeah. And then Martin, who's, like, the cancer just looking over, is like, I can do it again. I can do it again, and I might never stop. And I thought that was very interesting to kind of view him as like a disease, like infecting the family.
I really
Except for
like
Bob, who was always cautious of him, but in the end, he was the one who had to die
that.
because of it all. But
Yeah, I liked
Oh,
that
yeah,
a lot.
that's a good point. Yeah, he was very cautious. And he's also one thing that like thinking about his most pure. Like I was really thinking about it while you're talking. Like I don't think he ever lied.
No.
Everyone in the movie
He was
lies
being
constantly.
really honest, like from the beginning. He's like,
Like,
I don't want to.
Yeah,
No, I'm not gonna.
I didn't water the
Yeah.
plants. Like, why can't I water the? Like, he's
Yeah.
like brutally honest. He would always say like, I'm like, be like, I'm not. It's not a trick. He was just
Yeah.
constantly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I thought of it mostly. Like just on a metaphorical level, I thought that was interesting.
And no one will also make more sense of the telling your deepest darkest secret of the metaphor of father's sin.
Yeah,
The youngest has to take care of the youngest sin
yeah.
and also take care of the other things.
The sins of the father. Oh man, that was the best.
I'm
scene
just
of that whole
I'm
movie.
You
just
just wanted to segue.
I just want to dress everything back into this.
Yeah.
Look at his face. It's like, oh, what the? Why? What? Uncle Marty?
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
like that's
geez.
weird, Dad.
Oh my god.
Now you tell me a secret. It's like
I don't have any-
I never lied to my.
I stole a cookie, and I told you guys I didn't steal the cookie once. Other than that, I don't really have much. But
Yeah.
Mary, did you have any? What did you
So-
think of the movie?
I definitely feel. I'm gonna preface with saying that I feel like I'm driving like the most metaphors from the movie, and a lot of it doesn't really work like towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of, it's funny because I think it's just because I'm really into Nicole Kidman's acting right now, so I was most interested.
Yeah.
She was my favorite character. Her acting was the most interesting.
She was the
her
first to
storyline.
unhinge kind of too.
Yeah,
like, out of the
she
family.
Yeah, she was the first one to like respond and act.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really focus as much on Martin's storyline, even though that's the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I started to kind of focus on the interesting like power dynamics with Nicole Kidman versus like basically everyone else, but specifically Colin Farrell's character.
Yeah.
So
Just because throughout she's like constantly getting like interrupted and is like, that's
Yeah.
quite enough out of you. You shut your mouth or like stuff like that.
honestly, yeah, exactly. Like anytime she is like, we should do this, she's not listened to any, and so she finally starts to take matters into her own hands.
Mm-hmm.
She tries to find Martin's record and all these different things, and she starts confronting Steven about how he needs to do something. So I interpreted it as I don't really know how Martin fits into this, but I guess I kind of interpreted it as this suburban like, and not all men are like this, but and I don't know if the director intended this at all, but I took it as like there's this male who just so happens to be very scatterbrained. He's not really gonna be assertive. He's very complacent and dishonest, as we discussed, and she kind of starts to try to shift the power where she's gonna do something and she's gonna like I wanted it to be more of her like figuring out maybe how to stop Martin.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just felt like the end just ended with them all resorting again to like the faults of like the sins of the father, where like they all were at power, like to the mercy literally of the father, because he's literally just spinning in a circle like, I'm gonna shoot one of y'all.
That was really the most
So funny.
It was
Yeah.
funny, but it was like the most inefficient way to do that.
Like,
it's because
like
It's because like
Yeah.
because like when like you focus a lot on Nicole Kidman, I every time I just wanted to fixate on Colin's character, just because I don't know, I just like because obviously he was given a simple thing of what to do, and he did everything in his power to do not that.
Yeah.
So even to the point to where he couldn't even decide, which obviously would have been the daughter. If you weighed up all the bad, it
She was
would
kind
have
of
been
being
her.
a piece
She
of
tried to
shit.
run away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
She tried to free him and also
and-
run away.
Can we address like how much was she in cohorts with Martin, because she knew an awful lot. There's
Yeah.
a scene where
She
she
did.
where
But there
she's
was
like,
no point where
"Don't
they
worry."
explained like at what like
No, and that bothered
Yeah, they
me.
hung out once and now she's like down to clown until she's down the ground.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
Well, you have your period once, and then you just get real thirsty.
Man, I love a boy that looks like a. Never mind.
Don't
No,
stop.
I'm
Just
not gonna
stop
be
right
mean.
there.
Looks like a very nice
He
gentleman.
looks like a very nice gentleman.
very nice gentleman.
I only say that because he was real
who
slimy
just
in the
looks
movie.
very British.
Yeah.
But like to the point, like you're saying, like it's like he literally couldn't even decide that he literally just had to like take up to chance, and obviously
Yeah.
he couldn't do that right because he missed like 2 to 3 times.
Yeah.
So like, it fit more in the character. It's just
Yeah.
like you just refuse to just choose.
Yeah.
Right. And
Which is-
yeah.
It's funny because he's like a precision like doctor. It's kind of like a juxtaposition. It's like he should be
Yeah.
like
Very
very,
nice
precise.
hands.
Yeah.
Very
nice.
Everyone talking
beautiful, clean hand.
She has the whole
Hell,
thing. It's like everyone's talking about these goddamn hands. Look
All
at
the
your hands.
time. Yeah.
And he just like walks in the room, just like jazz hands.
Hey, wife.
Yeah.
Glitter comes out.
Yeah.
But he doesn't smile. It's just,
Yeah, so that's my interpretation of it. Was like there was this moment where it started to diverge a little bit,
Yeah.
and Nicole Kidman's character started to get really interesting, and you're like, oh, something's gonna start, and then at the end they all just were at the mercy of the father, and I think that was my
Yeah.
interpretation of it, is that
Yeah.
it was kind of like this. She was constantly not listened to. Her and her children suffered for it. You know, and that was really, I mean, that
It's
drove
like that
home, I
Norman
think.
Rockwell like painting like style of living where you get like I feel like I don't know how accurate that is now, but like definitely like people like in Congress and like Senate people where it's like that seems to be the dynamic still.
Mhm.
Where it's like, oh, I am the man and I say important things, and I'm
Yes.
the wife and I support it.
Yeah,
like stuff
most
like
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
There's an interesting commentary on that.
Yeah, and them not being able to. Ultimately, they, as we already discussed, lost their purest thing.
Yeah.
So
He has some
that
good hair
was-
too.
He did, and he didn't know
And
how
he
to
was
cut it
gonna
off.
literally eat all of it.
He was bad at cutting it off. He cut off so little.
Yeah,
I
it
would-
was like
yeah.
so many bits. He'd start
It
up
was
here
so
and then he'd just
bad.
let's
like,
be
down,
honest.
and I'm like,
I was afraid he was gonna cut his fingers.
Yeah,
I
I
know.
saw every
Every
once in a
time
while
I
you were
think
like,
it'll,
whoop.
cut off. I know, I was too.
I feel like that's why it wasn't as short
They're
because
like,
the
"Alright,
director's
okay.
Yeah.
he
You're
was
bad
like
at
watching it,
this.
they're just like,
He was probably
Yeah,
under like
this is
so
too
much.
cringy. This for my taste is even more too cringy.
Yeah.
He was probably under so much pressure from the directors. Like, all right,
Mhm.
don't fuck this up because we
Yeah.
can't grow your hair again.
Right.
You get
True.
one shot at this, you little shit. Don't mess up my movie.
Right.
I'm
And we're
making
gonna-
art here.
And we're not gonna hire Anne Hathaway's
Nope.
barber this time.
Mm-mm. No, we're not. No, we're not. You're getting this right. And it's
Okay.
like,
All right. So do
But,
y'all
yeah.
want to we could discuss one, like the major thing we would change about the film, our overall rating, and our favorite line. Do y'all want to do that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
You go back in a circle again.
Yeah.
Start
Bring it
again?
around in a circle.
All right,
Alright.
Andy.
Oh God,
Like
no.
it, like it.
Why do you start with me?
Because it was a full circle.
Yeah.
We can start with
I'll
someone
go,
else.
I'll
Okay.
go. Okay, so one thing I would change. Trying to think. Maybe the kind of like more assertive, like of like sinisterness, or just like more like terrifyingness in
Yeah.
the end.
I would agree.
I love the music. The music was perfect.
Yeah.
No, it was.
I feel like I feel like Martin's character should like been more just like instead of just like the Days look, like actually just have one point where it's just like Days look and just kind of like narrow his eyes, just kind of like
It's like I'm fucking with you right now.
you know I won type of thing.
Yeah.
Instead of just watching, like
Mhm.
that'll be like I guess one thing I would, because I liked everything a lot. Like I would give it probably I'll do like like a 9.1 out of 10.
Dang.
Like
What would you
lobster.
get the
Nice.
lobster?
Oh, lobster's like 99.8, probably a 10, just because
Okay.
I loved
I
every
loved the
moment
lobster,
of it.
yeah.
Mhm.
And I guess -2, just because it kind of meant little drag.
Yeah.
In the third act, just
Yeah. a
but
little
then
bit,
again, I needed to do just to switch like the different themes in it.
yeah.
I was okay, but I would give like a 9.1, maybe like an 8.9
Okay.
out of 10. And favorite line, so many. Good
There's so
ones.
many. I want to
Yeah,
rewatch. We
so
talked
many.
about that. We want to rewatch it just to be able to quote how the
This-
ridiculous lines.
So quotable. This movie's so
Yeah.
quotable.
Dad, Bob's
dying!
He's dying!
Yeah.
Just the framing of
I-
that was
I-
so.
it's like a tie with like with good hands and can I borrow your MP3 please, pretty please.
Oh yeah,
That
talk
was
about
kind
you
of
lost
funny.
it.
That was
Oh
kind
my
of funny.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say if there's one or a couple things I could change about it, I'd probably say I enjoyed the leading into the second act. The end of the second act into the third act, I enjoyed a lot.
Agreed.
And I wish that kind of started right after we find out Martin's a little weird.
Yeah.
So like because they did like the whole like mundane like talking thing a little too much, like a little too long for me.
Mhm.
So I would wish that would have kind of started sooner.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then just also I don't know if it's like selfish to say, but I kind of wish that they hurried up the third act, like condensed it to 10 minutes and gone farther with what it was.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it was an interesting story and it just kind of like ended abruptly. Like,
Yeah.
it was like, oh, there's so much more you could have done with
Yeah.
that. That would have been so interesting.
Yeah.
You know, we
Yeah.
lingered for so long with him in the goddamn basement. It was like 3 or 4 days, like the movie
Yeah.
was doing. It was like, okay, we can hurry this up a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like the dialogue being a little like more lively, a little more quickly. But yeah, I would say if I had to give this a score, probably like 7.1, 6.9 to a 7.1 for me. Just from story perspective, I wish it was a little more filled out, but it's fine. It is what it is, and I'm not gonna be mad at that. So.
Yeah. Is there anything you would change about it, or did you?
I would,
kinda
just change like the dialogue,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
how
you just said
quickly
make
they
it a little
do that,
lively. Yeah.
and just like add a little more like twists and turns
Right.
like towards the end because there's
Okay.
room to do that.
Another thing I could add to like more demented visuals, if that makes sense. Like more
Yeah.
stuff that actually disturbs you.
Yeah, like take it off the
Yeah.
hinges. It's like, all right, if this is a movie about like people on the hinges, like let's take it off and then
Yeah.
go like
Right.
down the hill with it.
But it's hard to do that when it doesn't feel like there's a lot of emotion.
Yeah, it's like I want to feel. That's another thing is I want to feel for these characters, so I want to hear them be human beings and not like spouting dialogue because arts. But you know, that's just
don't
a pet
agree
peeve
with
for
that
me.
part.
What would
I
you
just
say?
I love the fact like they didn't feel human to me, and I loved that.
Yeah.
I loved
Yeah.
it. I was just
Same.
like, this is just great. I'm just watching this unfold, and I'm like, they're weird. I don't know
Yeah.
what they're gonna say next.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I don't know. I loved that.
Yeah.
I didn't care for the characters, of course, but like, it was just kind of cool to watch it all play out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think.
Yeah, that's just a pet peeve of mine. Definitely
Yeah.
not saying that's like it's like, oh god, it's not,
Yeah.
it's a bad movie making. It's like, it's a thing that I don't care for personally,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
even in this, it
Yeah.
was still enjoyable.
Right. I think.
And then
DJ
also-
yeah, go ahead.
I just want to say my favorite line real quick.
Yeah.
I'll cut off all your hair and literally make you eat all of it.
Oh,
Every
yeah.
last bit. Literally all of it.
Yeah.
Because there's a point where it's like on him, like on Colin Farrell's character, and then it cuts to the son, and then Colin Farrell's talking like for so long and how much detail he's gonna make him eat this hair.
Yeah.
Then it cuts back to Colin Farrell at a point.
Yeah.
He's like, no, understand this. And I thought
Yeah.
that was really funny.
No, I like that was my favorite line as well, from what I can remember. That and Bob's dying.
I was just looking up quotes, and one of it was just like, "Our family's about to die, but yes, I can make you some mashed potatoes."
Oh yeah,
Yes.
that was a fucking burn.
liked
I
that.
wanted
That
to
was
see like the
great.
savage like edits, like boo-doo, like the glasses come down. It goes, David feels good to be engaged.
Yeah, that part. I really liked that scene just because it showed like how she was trying. They talked the whole time about how busy the mom was all the time, and then she's like, "Yeah, you know, I was busy, and now our family's dying, but I'll make you some fucking mashed potatoes." Sure. Okay, so my favorite line was also the hair one, from what I can remember, and then
So many good ones.
I don't know if this would make it better because I do like the implication that they all kind of resort to the sense of the father and that works for the movie. I felt like it was setting. I feel like this would have made it maybe too cheesy, and I don't think this director would ever go for something like this. But I did like what it was setting up with Nicole Kidman, and kind of similar to what you're saying, you wanted more follow through with a lot of things. I also wanted more follow
Yeah,
through.
because she kind of regresses towards like the end. Where
Yeah.
it's like, all right, and I'm gonna go back to being this.
Right, because I think there's a difference between leaving it to interpretation and then not knowing how to wrap something up.
Yeah.
And it kind of felt for me that it leaned a little bit more towards the latter.
For sure.
And so I would have liked it to kind of take on this really powerful side of like Nicole Kidman being able to kind of take on a little more power. I mean, this is a really weird reference, but there was a moment, and I don't even know what to think about the whole sex scene, like with.
Oh god, there's
I don't
just
think
so
we
much,
can even
like,
get into
I don't
that.
even know.
Yeah.
That looked so painful.
Yeah. Wait, the one in the car?
Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't talking about that.
The drive.
Oh, that sounded painful.
It wasn't even that. It was more like,
Yeah, it was like sandpaper. It was like, oh my god, what is
Yeah.
she doing to this man?
and smooth.
He was
I'm
like,
talking.
no, you're terrible at this. I didn't want this at all.
Yeah, I'm talking about how she. At first I was like, does Colin Farrell's character have like a necrophilia.
That's what I
Oh
was
yeah,
thinking,
like a weird
my
fetish
mind
thing.
was
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, and that's what I thought was happening. And then the daughter does it, and I was like, "Is this
It's
how
just a
people
family
mate?"
thing. Yeah.
Like,
And then
You
was it
know,
Martin
I
Short?
just thought maybe she had seen.
right?
Like I don't.
Yeah,
and
you know,
just thought, oh, this
and
is
then
what
Martin
I'm
was just
supposed
like,
to do.
right. And then
I'm gonna
talking
go.
about it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna lay down.
So apparently that was weird.
No.
That I don't know. I felt like
So I couldn't tell how much it was in this real, and I couldn't, and it bothered me because in The Lobster, which I know you haven't seen, it's clear that it's in like a future, and you don't really know how far in the future. You don't really like, you don't know what's happened, but it's in the future, and
Yeah.
so in a way, it's a world different than ours right now.
Mhm.
This one didn't clarify that, and so
Yeah.
it just kind of was like, okay, so is this what everybody does, or is it just this weird family?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then there's also this guy that has magic powers. Are other people like him?
The best like
Um,
exposition in any movie, I will say, by the way.
Hmm.
Just like to add that in, the way
What?
they do like the exposition for like how the world works. Like, I'll say it as fast as I can. Your
Oh.
whole family's gonna die, and then I'm gonna do this, and you're gonna do that, and then that's as fast as I could say it. I thought that was really fun.
I did like that.
Oh,
a
so
lot.
sorry, knife. I'm so sorry.
yeah. Oh yeah. He would do
That
that
was
with
great.
everybody's gift. Like everyone in the movie did that, and I thought that was absolutely hilarious. Where they're like,
It's a watch. Oh, it's a watch.
yeah, it's like,
Oh.
then why would you wrap it? Why would you
I-
wrap it at all?
The
Yeah.
most wasteful thing in the movie was wrapping paper.
Yeah.
He was like, why did he wrap it?
Why did he wrap it? Like immediately.
I also really loved the part whenever he's talking to the daughter, and he's talking about when he first started smoking. He's like, yeah, I was at a friend's party. I regretted it instantly.
But she
I'm an idiot.
She asked him a question like, "When did you start smoking?" And then
Too late
completely
now.
doesn't answer at all.
Okay, yeah, but that's what I would change.
Mm.
I was really interested in the dynamics they were trying to
Yeah.
pull with Nicole Kidman and Colin Farrell's characters, and I was all about it. And then all of a sudden it went away, and I was bummed.
Yeah.
Because okay, so what I was about to say was not the hand job scene, but the way that like her and Colin Farrell would have sex, and she would just like lay, just for our listeners, as anyone, if you've gotten this far, you've seen it, and she lays like basically dead on the bed.
Yeah.
She's not actually dead.
Straight up
But-
dead on the bed.
Oh, yeah. And then they have sex, and it's very weird. But there was a part towards the end where she comes into the room, and you think that like she's gonna like be very dominating and like kind of like take charge, and then she just falls over and does the dead thing again.
Yeah,
and I
it's
was
like,
so
all
because
right.
that was gonna be like another. I was like, all right, we're building on the metaphor
Cool.
here. She's
Power
like,
dynamics.
she's literally coming alive,
Yeah.
and no. So that was what I would have changed about it.
What would your rating be?
I am torn because I do think the ending that they had worked.
Rated by pies.
By pies.
Out of 13.
Out of 13.
Out of 13
Out of
pies.
13 being the worst.
I hate how y'all do it. Okay.
But
I
number
would-
one being medium and in the middle being the best.
Okay.
Figure that math.
So it's
The
either
fir-
key line.
Like
So it's
one,
a 7.
one is a Game of Thrones pie,
Okay.
and then like 10 is 13 is
Yeah, 13.
like the best pie you've ever had.
No, it's the worst pie.
It's Lord of the Rings pie.
Oh wait, I'm.
And then
So
one
wait,
pie.
is 13 really good or really bad?
Well, I don't know. It depends your opinion of the Lord of the Rings.
Oh my god. Okay.
There's no winning.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna do it out of 10 because
Okay.
fuck you guys.
Whatever. I'm turning off the podcast now.
Just trying to make this, only trying to make this interesting.
and I'm gonna say that I want to give it. I'm gonna. I was close to doing what DJ did and giving it like a 7.2, but upon further discussion, it gets a 7.8 to an 8,
Cool.
just because I like things where you can have discussions like
Yeah.
this, right? Where
Almost
each
definitely.
person had such a different interpretation, and that's. I like that. I know it's pretentious, and I know it's like film house, but that's why I go to movies, dude.
It's what these
it's
movies
fun.
are made
It was
for.
And it was
pretentious of
different.
like
Yeah.
the FU. Is that pretentious like whole people like? It's more pretentious like I know no one's gonna like this. Yeah.
Yes,
You know, think yourself as like this is my movie.
Yeah.
Kevin is currently flipping us all off.
Or in like it's a literally the movie version of just like putting your dick on the table. Like
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
And
But
you
I
can look
don't
at
know.
it, you don't
But-
have to,
And
but
then your
it's
brother
there.
comes into the room, and then things
I
get
feel like
weird.
we'll be really inappropriate with the Harvey Weinstein thing going on.
Yeah.
Was it too
yeah.
soon? Is it too soon? Of making references of penises and having them out in the open
Yeah, I
for
mean,
Yeah.
people to either like it or don't
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
Mostly
Usually
don't like
not
it.
like.
With
Mostly
occasional fake ficus.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that poor
yeah.
ficus. That poor waiting staff. That's all I have to say about
Odd
that.
thing about it, there's been like more ficuses sprouting, and they're wanting their
I thought you were gonna segue
They're
back
wanting-
into
they're
your
wanting their
point.
support.
And then
So one of their
Go
fight
back
support.
into your point.
yeah, it's like actually
And
the
it
bike is
segues back into
whose point were we on? You think you
Cap,
gave your
Mandy.
Mandy.
Sorry.
Cabin.
Yes, I'm now Kevin.
Y'all
I
are
have a
now
mustache
Hi,
and
this is
everything.
Mandy. This is Mandy speaking.
Mandy,
Next
your
Switch
hair
Friday
is
is
so
parent.
beautiful.
I'm gonna shave it all
Freaky
off.
Friday, all of it.
All of it.
You're really gonna eat all of it.
I want to. Okay, Mandy. Sorry.
Alright, so one of the things that I probably would have changed about the movie is when Martin was in the cafeteria, like saying, "Hey, yeah, I'm gonna explain this as quickly as I can. Your whole family's gonna die," and he talked about the stages.
Mhm.
I kind of wanted more with the stages, like the stage,
Yeah.
like because stage 1 happened pretty quickly, and then stage 2 was like right there, not wanting to eat and everything.
Yeah.
Stage 3 took forever, and
Yeah.
there was just so much space, and I was like, "Come
Yeah.
on!"
Yeah,
I
Stage
just, I
1
don't-
and 2 felt like they happened at the same time, and then
Yeah.
nothing happened in between, and then 3 happened.
That should have been like I don't know, just
There should have been
Yeah.
another stage.
Have like some
yeah.
biblical shit. It was like frogs are gonna come down. He
Yeah,
turns into like
something,
he
and then
loses
I kept-
limbs or
I don't know, like, and then the mom
Oh, I
was
kinda
never
wanted them to
actually
speak like
affected
a
by
demon
any of the
to him.
stages.
Yeah.
What was that?
The mom wasn't affected by the stages.
I have something
Yeah.
to add to that,
Because
just
I'm-
real fast.
Okay,
After
let's
that.
go. Oh, no,
All
you're
I,
good.
all I had
Go,
to say
go.
to that was kind of cool because we were talking before this podcast about how trailers spoil so much these
Oh,
days and how
God.
frustrating that is.
Guillermo del Toro Studios.
We'll
Yeah.
see. Well, we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
we'll
true.
see it
yeah,
yet.
Yeah.
that's true. That is
And
true.
Nocturnal,
Next thing you know, it could have been a 10 in Hellboy. He's been lying to us.
Very true.
and Nocturnal Animals had a wonderful trailer where it was very misleading. You didn't really know what it was about, and I appreciated that a lot. And then with this movie, the thing that I noticed from the trailer is that you do think, because they show how like the wife will lay on the bed, and there's a scene in the trailer where it looks like she's paralyzed because it is under like it's showing the visual while the dialogue is saying like, don't worry, like this will happen to you too, you won't be able to walk soon too.
Yeah.
And then it shows the mom laying on the bed, so you think in the trailers that also happens to the mom,
Yeah.
but in the movie it doesn't. I appreciated that a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I wanted
Okay,
to point
no,
that
I
out.
see
That was like a weird thing that I
No, I get
noticed,
that.
but continue.
No, that's awesome. No, I totally get that. I don't know. I think I was just like frustrated because
I agree.
I didn't understand. I was like, okay, so it affected the brother and then really quickly affected the sister.
Yeah.
And then they were like that for forever. And it was just like, okay.
Right, and it never affected the mom ever, and that was
It-
weird.
I don't.
That bothered me too,
It
though.
really did bug me. Just the
Yeah.
staging. I was just like, come on, just
There's no continuity.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
I'm sure it's like some symbolism thing. It's like she's disconnected from the family or something
Yeah,
like that.
or she's the one trying to slow down the process.
Yeah, and it's
I
like,
don't
all
know.
right, that's fine, but what are the fucking rules then?
Yeah.
Because she's in the family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is it because that she's not born from him? You think that's a thing? Because the kids have their DNA
You know,
and the
but
wife doesn't?
What does that have to do with it though? Because Martin
Because-
said it will be your children and your, wife.
Yeah.
Like, he made that
okay.
clear.
Yeah, no, never
Yeah.
mind. There's no rules.
So I don't know. Yeah, that bothered me as well.
But I did like the presentation of it whenever he did straight up just be like, okay, this is what's gonna happen to you,
Yeah.
and it just
Yeah.
turned like you're like, okay, this is what's happening in
Yeah.
the movie now. Okay.
Yeah.
It feels like Wes Anderson style, but like in an effective way.
Yeah.
Like I always felt like that about him
Speaking
and
of
like
Wes-
the lobster. It was the
Talking about
same.
Wes Anderson, I'm ready for that dog movie.
Yes, the Dog Island.
I
Yeah.
feel like it will definitely come out, and I definitely probably won't see it because I don't like Wes Anderson that much. But
Absolutely.
I'm supportive of everyone that does.
Have you seen Fantastic Mr. Fox?
Yeah, I
You
did
do
like.
like
I have a bias towards it because that was like one of the first books I ever read, so I was gonna like that regardless. But I did like it still.
I feel like that's what this next one's gonna be, and I also
Yeah.
like it because it's more about Asian culture and like I
Mhm.
kind of like people putting Asian culture actually doing it right.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
And then
I literally
instead of
trust-
Dragon Ball Evolution. That's all I have to say about that movie. But yeah, so
Yeah, sorry to keep interrupting you.
You're good.
but yeah.
So my rating overall for that movie, I love it, but it'd be anywhere from 7.9 to like an 8.2.
Yeah, I agree.
somewhere
So-
in there.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So overall, even coming from a perspective of people that don't tend to like these movies as much myself, I will say like if you're on the fence about seeing this movie, it's still very worth seeing
It's
because
entertaining.
it's very entertaining and it's very funny. So even if you don't like these movies, it feels like a parody of these types of movies sometimes. So
Yeah.
it's still I would still recommend watching it even
Yeah.
though I have quarrels with it.
Agreed. Yeah. Any last
Yeah.
comments, guys?
That's a good beard. It was a good beard.
It
It was
good.
It was a good beard.
Another thing-
And his hair was very
If
sleek.
anything-
and nice.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if like it was like he's like that's what he grew after the surgery because obviously he kind of knows about it. Obviously visiting, so I felt like it could be something
Yeah,
that
he
trying to mask
subconsciously
himself.
felt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good point.
That was a good point.
Well,
I agree.
as
Really good point.
I did good.
I concur.
With myself, actually.
as the one.
As I stroke my mustache, I concur.
Well, for our one listener out there, hi Tyler. I'm
What's
guessing
up,
it's
Tyler? Represent.
Hey
Represent.
Tyler, my name is Kevin.
Yes.
My Twitter account is Kevin Ingram at it's KAVANINGRAM.
Hell
Same
yeah.
thing for literally every single thing. If there's a
Oh
social
my
media
God.
thing, just put that down and you'll find me. LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn. No profile yet. You'll see. Looking for an accounting internship. If anybody's listening.
There you
More
go.
in the Arlington area.
Yes.
And also represent UTA Go Mavericks. Map
Blurp,
it up.
blurp. Represent.
Oh my god.
Tyler, tearing it up in the
Do you have
comment
any
section.
plugs?
Tearing it up.
Do you have any plugs,
Mandy.
Mandy?
You know, I'd like to be more anonymous
More anonymous.
online. So
Ghosting
like,
it.
Exactly.
Represent.
What about
that
our
life.
kids? You don't want to shout out our kids?
So shout out to Hubert and Jethro.
Bang, bang. Bang, bang, bang.
Hubert Jethro!
Yeah.
The best cats
Break
in the
gang.
world.
Yeah.
The big go splat!
My gun will go off every once in a while.
As
Yeah.
As
We're-
our
we're-
first guest on our podcast
Oh, yeah.
ever.
Hey.
And maybe
Making history.
future host.
Oh, most
yeah.
definitely.
Oh.
There's more things coming for sure.
Yeah.
Hopefully I could
keep
do
listening.
this weekly.
That's what the hope is,
Hopefully.
guys.
Hope
So you
We're
might start getting real used to us real soon.
Hell yeah. And
Well,
then
it's
Tyler's
awesome.
going to be tearing it up in the comment section. He's going to be loving it. He's
Yes.
like, oh my god, every
If I see
episode.
one negative comment, Tyler, I swear
I swear
would
to God.
appreciate your
Yeah,
criticism.
I'm going to delete it and I'm going to unfriend him.
Like,
I'm going to unfriend him on Facebook.
It's gonna be like something like, it was like, I just fucked your mom, and it's like, you know,
Tyler would say that.
if you become my stepdad, you know, like most people would like stepdads, and I'm just more just like maybe my parents are having this thing,
Yeah.
and that's their personal life, and
And I respect that.
I respect that. I respect you, Tyler.
And then
I
you give him a
respect
like. You like the
You
comment.
make one comment about my cats, I'm gonna get some ass.
I'll make you eat your hair.
Literally all of it.
all of it.
Literally, all of it.
Yeah.
All of it.
And then Tyler will be coming at some point as well in the future.
I
So
know.
he'll have a time to defend himself. But
I-
until then, fuck Tyler White, fuck his clique, fuck
Tyler
everything he
White.
claims. And that's how I
I'm
feel
not
about
gonna
it.
lie to y'all. I'm gonna be really sad if Tyler doesn't listen to this.
Oh, I'm gonna link it to him. I'm gonna link it to him. And I'm gonna give him a time code.
You text it to him with the thing where it actually shows you if they read it.
Hell, I would love that.
All right. Well,
Shout
we're
out to
gonna,
XP Squad, dead channel, straight up, represent
Yeah.
Tyler DJ all day.
I'm gonna go grab some pillowcases and a gun, and I think we should turn off the podcast.
All
Wait,
right,
let's
let's
keep
get
it-
drunk tonight.
Yay!
And there we go. And let's delete that right there.